This is the third season of the horror anthology series Slasher entitled Solstice. This one I would have to give about a 9 or 9.5. I have a little bit of trouble giving it a perfect 10 because there were certain elements of this season that were a little bit irritating and disturbing to a certain degree. But nevertheless, it was still a great watch. And in the future, I think I'll watch it again. I think I will watch it again at some point. Now, here's how ChatGPT sums it up. And I know by now there's still some people who are probably unfamiliar with ChatGPT, and I'll go more in depth about what that is in a separate video. Slasher Solstice is the third season of the horror anthology series Slasher. This season revolves around a killing spree that takes place over the course of 24 hours during the summer solstice in an apartment complex. Here's the plot summary. A year before the events of the season, a man named Kit Jennings is brutally murdered by a masked figure known as the Druid in the middle of the apartment complex's courtyard. So the Druid is the killer in this season. The killer in the last season was the Camp Motiga or Motega. I think they said Motiga. Camp Motiga killer. The first season it was the Executioner. The first two seasons were also great. Check those out if you haven't seen them. The residents and bystanders witness the murder but do nothing to help. This inaction haunts them as the anniversary of the murder approaches. On the day of the summer solstice, the Druid begins a new killing spree targeting the residents of the apartment complex. The season unfolds in real time, with each episode covering an hour of the day, adding to the tension and urgency. The residents are forced to confront their own secrets and sins as they try to survive the day and uncover the identity of the killer. Now, here are some of the key characters. You have Jen Rikers, played by... Why am I not seeing this here? What's going on here? What just happened? I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry. Hold on. Jen Rikers, played by Mercedes Morris. You have Sadia. So Jen is a resident of the complex who is trying to piece together the events leading to the current murders. Sadia, a Muslim teenager who faces discrimination and becomes one of the key figures trying to survive the Druid's wrath. And she's played by Baraka Rahmani. Sorry if I mispronounced that. There's always a name that I can't pronounce. Always a name. Angel Lopez, a drug dealer whose involvement with various residents brings complications. That would be... I had to switch to different tabs here because on one it's just given the characters. I had to go back to fandom to check who the actors and actresses were. Wow. As he's played by Salvatore Antonio. You have Xander, a police officer who is drawn to the chaos. I'll get to the rest of that later. I don't have time for that right now. But you also have Dan Olinsky, the building's superintendent, who has a dark past. Now, here are some of the themes of this season. Consequences of inaction. The bystander's failure to help Kit sets the stage for the Druid's return. Secrets and sins. Each character has hidden truths that come to light as the murders continue. Survival and justice. The residents must navigate their mistrust of each other while trying to identify and stop the killer. This season weaves together elements of horror, suspense, and drama, creating a gripping narrative that keeps viewers on edge as the mystery of the Druid unfolds. Now, to give a little bit of a spoiler here, I'm not going to tell you who the killer is, but let's just say that, as part of that implies right there, it is a revenge plot. So, and I had my list of suspects, and I'll tell you, I was right on one of them, but it turns out that there was more to it. Let's just say that. And let's just say that I might as well just say it. There was more than one killer in this. And once I found out who it was and when they explained what their motive was and how it was discovered that these people were doing what they're doing, it was a little bit different in comparison to other mystery thrillers and horrors that I've seen. I mean, you look at the Screams, you look at, stuff like that. This one was a little bit different. And if you like that type of stuff, as I always say, I think this is the show for it. So the first 3 seasons are on Netflix. The 4th and 5th seasons are on Shudder. Netflix had canceled it because of low viewership. Shudder picked up the last 2 seasons, and because of that, I don't know if the show's even going to continue. As I said about shows like Shining Vale, the more and more the viewership drops, the more likely that network or station is to cancel it. I wouldn't be surprised if they get canceled soon. But I would definitely watch this season here. If I were you, if you haven't already seen it, watch it. It's something else. I would almost argue that it's better than, I would almost argue it's a little better than the first season. Now, as far as the second season, it's almost a tie, but part of me feels like, and this is where it gets complicated, there's part of me that feels like the second season was just slightly around the edges better. The other part of me says this one was slightly around the edges better. I would pretty much have to give it, I would say it's nearly tied. It's nearly tied. Because now that I think about it, I think I did give the second season a perfect 10, where, like I said, this was up to 9.5, so maybe the second one just barely edges it out. It's not a landslide by any means, but this was a great show. And I would love to see more and more. If you know any other shows and or movies that are like this, please direct them to me, because this is the stuff that I love to watch. So like and subscribe, comment, give me your thoughts on, what you think of this show overall, and particularly this season. If you've seen it, I got more coming.